So as for Gemini, Gemini is a mutable air sign, the first one in the zodiac. And given the fact that Gemini occurs in the early summer or late spring, early summer, there's a very light feel to that sign. And one of the positive aspects of Gemini is that they can be very sprightly. They're will o' the wisps, if you know what that means. And as a result, they can be very entertaining people, very witty. I like to call them clever, which is a synonym for witty, because they mix humor with intelligence. Being an air sign, Geminis are very intelligent, intellectual people. They love learning, but they particularly like trivia. So they seem to know a little bit about everything. And this is because, being a mutable sign, they have so many interests. I am a Sagittarius, so I am a complementary sign to Gemini. And also, being a mutable sign, I understand what it means to enjoying dabbling in different subject matters. And I think that's something that we have in common with Gemini, but they might even best us in that category. Gemini is a sign of the journalist. So, one thing that's very interesting in talking to a Gemini person is that they usually are very uh, entertaining when you're speaking with them because having that education, whether it be formal or self taught, and their love of books and reading topical um, stories and stuff like that. Geminis are really well informed and they like to communicate this with other people. And I really respect that. I don't think that you'll find a more interesting dinner guest than a Gemini. They're also flexible because they're a mutable sign. And this is helpful because rigidity is a drag, and when you're dealing with people who are who cling to their ideas, it sometimes can feel very stifling. And so Geminis are a breath of fresh air most of the time. In terms of some of the less um, positive qualities or the shadow side of Gemini, they tend to be afraid of their emotional nature, which is true for all air signs. And so when you're dealing with a Gemini, a lot of times you get the feeling, especially the less developed ones, that they don't like to get too personal, that they want to keep things on the surface. And so they can come across as rather superficial. And a lot of times they might not want to talk about their personal problems. And this makes it hard to really get to know them. And again, this is not going to apply to every Gemini, but I would like to know in the comments below if you think that I'm on point about this, if you know Geminis or if you are a Gemini. But this is going to be true for the other air signs as well. Air signs have almost an irrational fear of their emotional selves. And this is not really a good quality when you're trying to become emotionally mature and to become emotionally strong. It's interesting to me, it seems to me that a lot of air signs like therapy. And I think this is because they enjoy talking about their feelings rather than actually having to feel them. They really like analyzing things. And Gemini is known for this as well, being an air sign. And at some point, you have to learn to not be afraid of what you're feeling and not to over intellectualize it and to really feel it on a visceral level so that you can transcend it. Because I get the feeling that Geminis don't like anything that has to do with that part of them, um, that feelings almost are oppressive to them unless they're light and airy like they are. The other thing that can confound the rest of us when dealing with the shadow side of a Gemini is how changeable they can be. The sign is ruled by Mercury. There's an adjective, mercurial, which means changeable. And this certainly applies to Gemini. But depending upon how much they, manifest this quality, you can get Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and, there are probably more than a few Geminis who are actually bipolar or have multiple personalities. And you're like, okay, who did I get today? A lack of consistency can make it very difficult to have a relationship with a Gemini person. And they also might shift opinion depending on what day it is. And this makes it hard to trust Geminis. Trust what they say, trust what they're going to do. They can be quite um, unpredictable. And this can be very exciting if you like change, but let's face it, at some point you want to be able to depend on people. And there's another quality that's related to this, the used car salesman. And, Gemini is very slick in their communications, they're very glib, and they can promise you the moon and not deliver. So, this is something to watch out for when you're dealing with a Gemini person. Are they going to back up what they say? They can tell you a lot of glowing things. They make great sales people. I will give them that. But whether they actually follow through is another story. They can be quite creative with the truth, which is a nice way of saying, the shadow self can be a compulsive liar. So, just a few words about Gemini, and again, let me know what you think of it. Bye, guys.